A flustered girl leans in with bold affection, while the boy freezes under the sudden pressure. The door swings open, and a cheerful arrival catches the pair in a compromising moment on the bed. The small witness recoils in confusion, unable to understand why the supposed dragon is here at all. The returning hero stiffens in alarm as the situation grows stranger than expected. A crushing misunderstanding fills the room as the hero sees his fiancée beside another man in intimate clothing. Under the moonlit silence, the stunned boy sinks into helpless confusion. Days earlier, his eye opens as he wakes in a place he does not recognize. A massive horned and winged beast lies before him, radiating the weight of a sacred creature. A serene goddess appears above the beast and introduces herself with overwhelming divine authority. The beast realizes too late that the one before it is a goddess, and the shock cuts through its fading mind. Relief washes over the sacred beast as it learns the demon god was truly defeated. The goddess praises the beast's sacrifice, honoring its death as the end of a noble struggle. She calmly declares that the age ahead no longer needs the beast's former role. With a gentle smile, the goddess promises a new life as a human in a future world. The beast jolts in disbelief, shaken by the impossible offer of rebirth. The goddess presents the rebirth as a reward and grants special blessings for the life ahead. As the goddess offers a final blessing, the beast clings to its admiration for humanity. A hand touches grass beneath the open sky, and birdsong welcomes the return to life. The newly reborn boy jolts upright, startled by the reality of his new body. A voice confirms his successful rebirth, leaving him shaken by the impossible truth. A mysterious guide appears in his mind and announces her role as his support in this new life. As he takes in the news of his new life and name, he quickly begins asking about the strange future around him. The name given to him carries the meaning of a sacred beast that transcends time, and he silently accepts its weight. Though he finds the name overly grand, he decides a human life needs one and moves on. He inspects his new clothing and armor, realizing divine privilege has equipped him from the start. Wasting no time, he crouches down and prepares to test the limits of his reborn body. The guide panics the instant he unleashes a powerful strike far beyond what he can handle. A violent shockwave tears outward, twisting the air and blasting the terrain apart. He stares at the destruction in disbelief as the guide warns that his old power remains, but his human body cannot control it. Frustration sets in when he learns that even overwhelming strength means little without control, and that humans in this age are far weaker. The guide reassures him by revealing a special privilege that will let him wield his sacred beast power safely. She explains that a close-range sacred weapon can be summoned through focus, turning his earlier failure into an advantage. He calls the weapon forth, and a divine blade materializes in his grasp. Holding the sword, he feels immediate compatibility as holy power settles naturally into his hand. Armed at last, he decides to head toward civilization and test himself in real combat. The guide points him toward the imperial capital, a distant city tied to royalty and power. Hearing that adventurers exist in this era, he sees a practical path for surviving human life. He wonders how much time has passed since the war against the demon god, then sets the question aside for later. With fresh resolve, he chooses the adventurer's road and sets off. After several minutes of travel, the lone traveler moves deeper through the quiet forest. He catches sight of a distant figure ahead and immediately focuses on the unexpected presence. A sharp scent stops him cold, and his expression tightens as he realizes blood is in the air. His inner guide confirms the smell belongs to human blood, turning concern into urgency. He breaks into a sprint at once, refusing to ignore the chance that someone nearby is hurt. Hidden deeper in the woods, armored bodies lie scattered, while a rough voice boasts that the escorts have already been dealt with. A group of criminals closes in with smug confidence, treating their captive like prey while beasts lurk beside them. A frightened elf girl sits trapped on the ground as the men gloat over their luck and her helpless state. From a quick assessment, he identifies the threats as a knife fighter, a beast handler, and a mage. He steps into view on the forest path, drawing the gang's attention in an instant. The hooded mage attacks first with lethal intent, hurling fire the moment the stranger is spotted. He reads the attack effortlessly, his face turning calm with complete confidence. In one clean motion, he cuts through the incoming flames and tears the spell apart. The bandits freeze in disbelief as the impossible counter leaves their mage exposed. Before anyone can recover, the handler's monsters lunge forward with savage momentum. He answers with a single decisive slash that sends both beasts crashing down at once. The last attacker drops behind his back, instantly disabled as if put to sleep mid-strike. With all three threats neutralized, he stands over the silent scene in calm control. He turns to the captive and checks on her condition, catching her off guard with unexpected gentleness. The elf looks up at him with visible relief, overwhelmed by gratitude after being saved. As she gives her name, he stiffens slightly when it echoes someone important from his past. He quickly hides the reaction, admitting only that she reminded him of someone he once knew. The resemblance troubles him, but he reminds himself this is a distant future and not the world he left behind. He softens and tells her he is simply glad she is safe, easing the tension between them. His kindness hits her hard, and admiration begins to bloom across her flustered face. She suddenly throws herself against him in emotional relief, catching him completely unprepared. Clinging tightly, she praises his concern while he struggles under the sudden closeness and panic. His inner guide bluntly misreads the mood, turning his embarrassment into a fresh wave of shock. The guide pushes the idea even further, while he snaps back internally in total disbelief. Once they calm down and start walking, she explains that the bandits targeted her during her journey despite her guards. She cheerfully describes him as the savior who appeared at the perfect moment, while he accepts the outline of the story. Then she quietly calls his name, her attention shifting toward what she wants next. With hopeful eyes and obvious excitement, she points out that he cannot possibly leave a young woman alone in a place like this. She beams with delight at his strength and kindness, clearly charmed far beyond simple gratitude. His guide escalates the situation again, claiming her feelings are deepening fast while he pushes back in exasperation. Even so, he catches himself considering the possibility of building a quieter life than the one war denied him. As evening falls, the two arrive at a lonely cabin standing beside an open field. Inside, he notes that the shelter is surprisingly well kept for a remote stopover. The mood shifts at once when she points out there is only one bed in the room. He decides they should stay the night anyway, judging the darkness and roaming monsters too dangerous for further travel. His choice leaves the two of them spending the night together under one roof, with quiet tension settling in. In the dim cabin, she leans near the lamp while he watches in uneasy silence, the cramped room making everything feel too close. He catches his breath on the bed as she settles beside him, and her resemblance to someone from his past strikes him all over again. She leans in with a flushed, teasing look, and his composure cracks as her boldness makes the air painfully awkward. He can only stare and wonder why she would say something so risky so casually. She openly says her admiration comes from his strength and from the fact that he saved her life, leaving him with no easy reply. As she kneels closer with a delighted smile, he pulls back in visible panic and admits he has no idea how to handle this. She calmly brushes off his inexperience and claims confidence of her own, pushing the tension even higher. With her face only inches from his, she promises to lead the way, and his stunned hesitation leaves him completely trapped. Sitting on the bed with flushed resolve, she makes her feelings impossible to miss, while his own pride wavers under the pressure. In one sudden motion, she pushes him onto the bed and looms over him, taking control of the moment. As her hand presses into the bedding and the moon hangs outside, the night quietly turns toward consequences neither of them can foresee. She lifts her face with shy satisfaction, clearly treasuring the first kiss she just stole from him. Then her expression shifts into startled amazement, as if something in his reaction catches her completely off guard. Flushed and breathless, she studies him up close with fascinated delight while his embarrassment only deepens. His face tenses under the overwhelming closeness, and she finds his awkwardness even more endearing. From behind him on the bed, she softly tells him not to worry, as if trying to calm the storm she started. She leans in again with a heated smile and promises to ease his nerves, only tightening his sense of helplessness. By morning, he carries her on his back through the forest as she apologizes for overdoing things, sounding far too casual about the turmoil she caused. He brushes it off while supporting her weight, and the journey resumes with a strange new closeness between them. As she rides on his back, she wonders how someone with such a small frame could wield that much power, and he gives a vague answer to avoid the truth. In his thoughts, he admits that explaining his true strength would expose secrets no ordinary person could accept. He reduces it instead to a magic sword tied to his skill, offering the simplest explanation possible. She goes on about the world's skill system as they walk, placing his sacred blade among rare and exceptional abilities. Partway through explaining unique skills, her eyes begin to sparkle with admiration, and he notices her attention drifting somewhere uncomfortably specific. Her smile turns dreamy as she praises his power in a way that makes the compliment feel dangerously loaded. He stares ahead in blank disbelief while she hides behind him in flustered awe, and the misunderstanding only gets worse. Even his inner guide bluntly affirms the absurd praise, pushing him into immediate furious denial. At last, the imperial capital comes into view, stretching beyond the walls like the center of a new world. Still carrying her, he takes in the massive city up close, while she happily enjoys his stunned reaction. From the gate, a distant onlooker freezes at the sight of the pair arriving together in such a close pose. Guards rush forward in alarm, recognizing the girl at once and realizing someone important has returned. He turns in confusion at the word princess, still unaware of the status of the person clinging to him. With effortless composure, she reveals herself as the first Princess Elisifina Asura, and his shock turns rigid at once. The grand palace of the capital rises before him, confirming that he has stepped straight into the heart of royal power. Seated on the throne, the king greets him warmly as the man who saved his daughter's life. Dragged into the audience hall and forced to kneel, he can only respond through awkward confusion. While the king expresses gratitude, she smiles from the side with obvious delight, clearly enjoying how flustered he is. Inwardly, he reels from learning that the girl he rescued was a princess, and from being pulled into the palace before he could process any of it. The king presses him to reveal who he really is, and he braces himself beneath the weight of royal attention. He gives a carefully humble story about being a village boy heading for the capital and helping a girl attacked by bandits, concealing everything that truly matters. The king studies him with calm interest and concludes that the princess has found a rare skill in a boy who still looks like a natural adventurer. He drops to one knee in the royal hall as servants offer rest, food, and a generous reward, leaving him visibly overwhelmed by the treatment. Faced with a lavish meal, he inwardly rejects the idea of accepting royal gratitude so easily, fearing it would cross a line he never meant to approach. As the princess's companion notes how familiar he seems with human customs, he carefully downplays it by claiming only vague past contact. The princess leans in close and quietly notices his fatigue, her sudden nearness making the room feel smaller. Flustered at once, he tries to answer formally, only to stumble over her title and expose his nerves. She immediately erases that distance, pointing at him with playful insistence and demanding that he call her by name as if nothing between them has changed. Standing beside the revealed princess, he reels at the absurdity of his own future and the fact that he had treated royalty like an ordinary girl. She asks whether he is upset that she hid her identity, while his silence suggests he is still trying to process the net closing around him. Instead of apologizing, she shines with gratitude and treats his feelings for her as unquestionable, leaving him stunned by her certainty. With flushed confidence, she presses the moment further and invites the night to continue, leaving the atmosphere dangerously charged. Their faces draw close as both speak each other's names, and the tension between them becomes impossible to ignore. When she reaches for him again, the repeated advance only tightens his panic instead of easing it. Holding his hand with a soft smile, she thanks him for saving her life, turning the emotional weight of the moment into something even harder to resist. The quiet intimacy shatters when a young man bursts in, and both freeze at the sudden intrusion. The newcomer demands an explanation in rising outrage, his voice filling the room before either of them can react. He finds them on the bed in a compromising state and explodes with jealous fury, instantly framing the scene as betrayal and disgrace. Chrono forces out that he can accept the hidden royal identity, but the revelation of an existing fiancé hits him like a second blow. The room turns chaotic as the rival accuses. The princess falters, and Chrono can only think that the situation has become a complete disaster. The jealous hero snaps and screams for silence, making it clear that reason has already been lost. Gripping the door with menace, the hero vows to deal with Chrono first and leaves no doubt that this is now personal. A cold jolt runs through Chrono as he realizes the threat is no longer social humiliation but immediate danger. Steel flashes through the room as the enraged hero swings without hesitation, sending destruction across the chamber. In the middle of the violent strike, Chrono grabs the princess and pulls her clear, shielding her as the slash tears past. Amid broken furniture and dust, the hero recognizes the sacred blade and realizes his opponent is far more dangerous than expected. The sword's reputation hangs over the moment, marking it as a weapon of divine power reserved for those chosen as heroes. The hero stares in disbelief that anyone could evade a direct strike from him, his confidence cracking for the first time. Even while being cursed at, Chrono keeps his answer simple and calls himself a traveling adventurer, refusing to reveal more than necessary. The hero instantly twists Chrono's strength into a darker theory, accusing him of controlling the princess instead of accepting what she chose. With quiet urgency, the princess apologizes and tells Chrono to run, choosing his safety over her own position. Chrono hesitates, but she insists that explanations are useless now, her expression showing she has already given up on calming the hero. Holding her hands, he asks what she truly wants, cutting through the panic to reach the heart of the moment. He realizes she could have saved herself by blaming him, yet she chose to protect him instead, and that truth strikes harder than any accusation. Their joined hands steady him as he admits he cannot abandon the girl who openly shared her heart with him. Trembling and flushed, she finally confesses that what she wants most is to go with him. With tears in her eyes, she declares that she wants to stay by his side for the rest of her life, laying everything bare. His expression softens into resolve as he tells her that this honest confession is where everything truly begins. In one sharp motion, he calls forth the sacred beast sword, the weapon appearing with explosive force in his grip. The hero's eye tightens at the sight, recognizing at once that this is a weapon summoning skill and not a bluff. Standing between the princess and her raging fiancé, Chrono raises the blade and coldly orders the hero to move aside. The hero blocks their way with both blades drawn, shouting at Chrono as if victory should come easily. Chrono meets the charge head-on, catching the strike at point-blank range as both forces collide in a burst of sparks. A brutal shockwave erupts from the clash and tears into the wall behind them, proving Chrono's stopped power meant to crush him. As the dust settles, the hero stares in disbelief while Chrono remains standing, the truth now impossible to ignore. Chrono apologizes without backing down and declares that the princess's feelings are real, refusing to let the hero decide her future. Then he admits the deeper truth with steady calm, revealing that his own heart has chosen her as well. With the princess just behind him, Chrono steps forward with quiet resolve, protecting her by instinct as much as by choice. The hero erupts in possessive fury, all composure gone as jealousy twists his face into something dangerous. Chrono cuts through the outburst with a sudden strike, driving his fist into the hero's face before the shouting can continue. The hero crashes to the floor through shattered debris while Chrono stands over him, ending the fight with humiliating ease. Through tears, the princess watches as Chrono coldly rejects the hero's claim, declaring that obsession gives him no right to love her. Without looking back, Chrono tells Alicifina to come with him, and she answers at once with breathless relief. The window shatters with a sharp crack, opening a reckless path out of the palace. Chrono scoops the princess into his arms and leaps through the opening, carrying her from danger in one decisive motion. Holding her close as they flee, he reflects bitterly that the power meant to protect the world has turned its chosen hero into an enemy. Beneath the moonlit sky, the pair vanish beyond the palace walls as he leaves the consequences to fate for the sake of the one he loves. Later, while carrying her across open ground, Chrono listens as she explains that the emperor arranged the marriage and never gave her room to refuse. The story turns darker as it becomes clear the hero was welcomed for his strength and status, while the empire pushed him toward becoming her fiancé. Alicifina reveals how deeply she disliked him, describing his arrogance and the pressure he placed on her. Flushed with blunt honesty, she adds that after meeting Chrono, the hero never stood a chance in her eyes. She suddenly cuts herself off before saying too much, her embarrassment slipping out faster than she can contain it. Composing herself, she explains that close relationships were forbidden and that her father had taken a promise from the hero. Chrono realizes the emperor must have understood his daughter's rejection all along and made that promise to keep everything from collapsing sooner. He shifts the topic and asks about the 7 great demon lords, sensing a danger far larger than palace scandal. Alicifina explains that an old prophecy warns of a fallen demon lord rising again through a shrine maiden, a sacred beast, and the return of disaster. The legend hangs over the world like a shadow, naming the 7 great demon lords as ancient servants of chaos. As they continue on, Chrono quietly admits that the thought of their revival is no small threat. His thoughts return to the hero, and he judges with grim clarity that such a man may be far too weak in spirit to face what is coming. Still in his arms, the princess hesitates before asking the question that has been building inside her from the start. Looking straight at him, she asks who he truly is, unable to ignore that he defeated a hero as if it were nothing unusual. Chrono avoids a direct answer, warning that the truth might sound unbelievable even if he told her. Instead of pressing him, she tightens her hold and gently admits that he must have burdens of his own. With a warm smile, she tells him she will wait until he is ready, offering trust where others would demand answers. He answers with quiet gratitude, and together they turn toward a future far beyond the Empire's reach. Their journey carries them toward a peaceful land where Chrono hopes he can finally live beside the elf princess he chose. After days of travel, a vast city rises ahead, and Chrono identifies it as the labyrinth city ruin within a marquis's domain. The city's canals, stone streets, and broad outer walls give it both elegance and the weight of a thriving stronghold. Beneath that beauty lies a harsher truth, a city built around the labyrinth where monsters, trade, and danger feed one another. Seeing that balance of risk and opportunity, Chrono judges it to be the perfect place for an adventurer to disappear and begin again. With that decided, he leads Alicifina into the city, ready to stay there for a while. Chrono halts mid-step as a strange commotion pulls his attention to the side. Sumir stares at him with shining eyes, completely overwhelmed by his small and delicate appearance. She closes in with reckless enthusiasm, while Chrono freezes under the sudden pressure and confusion. Right in the middle of the street, she boldly grabs his hands and treats Elysifina as if she can simply take him away. Sumair leans in far too close, and Chrono recoils as the encounter turns deeply unsettling. He reacts at once and smacks her away, shutting down the reckless advance in pure panic. Sumair drops flat onto the ground, while Chrono and Elysifina stand over her in stunned silence. Elysifina lights up with open admiration, thrilled by how effortlessly Chrono stopped the chaos. Sumair squirms on the pavement in a dazed heap, as the pair wonder what to do with this disaster. Chrono can only stare, still trying to understand how the situation spiraled this badly. Other women from the guard rush in and are immediately rattled by the sight of their captain collapsed in disgrace. Chrono awkwardly tries to explain himself, while Sumair remains sprawled at his feet like proof against him. One of the guards accepts the situation with weary resignation and apologizes for the trouble their captain caused. On the ground, Sumair writhes in stunned delight, making it clear to everyone that a single slap shattered her composure. Chrono goes blank with disbelief, realizing the explanation somehow made the scene even stranger. Elysifina shyly admits she wants the same, leaving Chrono visibly shaken by her sudden honesty. The pair pass through the city gates after paying, but Chrono remains distracted by the absurd encounter behind them. Seeing the streets ahead, he decides their first stop should be a clothing shop. He points out that Elysifina's current outfit draws far too much attention, especially for someone who needs to stay hidden. She agrees carefully, promising to be discreet, while he reminds her not to reveal his unusual skill inside the city. Chrono reflects on his reincarnation perk, a rare ability called storage that lets him hide items away. He knows the power is exceptional even here and dangerous enough to bring serious trouble if exposed. As they walk along the canal, Elysifina notes that avoiding more attention is probably exactly what he needs. She reasons that the Empire would never want the public to know one lone outsider defeated their hero and took the princess. The scenery hits Chrono with a sudden wave of familiarity, as if the city is stirring memories he cannot place. A small companion suggests that part of his memories from before reincarnation may still be missing. Chrono notices something unexpected ahead and reacts with startled confusion. At the center of the street stands a grand statue of a winged beast, radiating a presence tied to forgotten history. Elysifina explains that it honors the sacred beast Behemoth, with similar monuments standing across major cities. The truth lands awkwardly as Chrono learns that even in this era, he is remembered as the legendary figure who defeated the demon god. Seeing ordinary people live peacefully beneath that legacy, he quietly feels that risking everything back then may have truly meant something. Elysifina smiles warmly and gently urges him onward, sensing how deeply the moment affected him. Their hands meet and clasp together, sealing a quiet promise as they move on side by side. They arrive at a clothing shop and stop before the display with cautious curiosity. Inside, Chrono opens the door while Elysifina hesitates, clearly uneasy about entering a place so unfamiliar. A cheerful shopkeeper immediately greets them, delighted by the sight of such striking young customers. Chrono calmly asks for clothes to be chosen for Elysifina, while she stands beside him in composed trust. He pulls out a few coins and checks whether the amount will cover what they need. The shopkeeper nearly loses composure at the sight of the payment, stunned by how much he just offered. Chrono innocently wonders if that is simply the normal price, completely unaware that he may have dropped a small fortune. A shop attendant leads the elf princess behind a curtain to change. After several minutes, Chrono waits stiffly as the fitting drags on. Elysifina steps out in a maid uniform with a bright, teasing smile that stuns the room. Chrono blurts out awkward praise, then trips over the title she keeps using. Elysifina leans in and calmly insists it is only part of the disguise, leaving him flustered. She explains with innocent confidence that the outfit is a servant's uniform meant to attend a master. Pleased with herself, she embraces the role at once while Chrono can only stare in defeat. A tiny guide beams with approval as the choice is settled and the act continues. The fitted uniform sways as she moves, making the reveal even harder for him to handle. Elysifina proudly clings to Chrono in the street, escorting him like a devoted attendant while he walks in rigid silence. Heat rises to Chrono's face as the public display leaves him painfully self-conscious. Elysifina pushes the joke further, delighted by his red face while he weakly begs her to stop. The pair arrive at an inn counter where the receptionist welcomes them and asks if they plan to stay. Elysifina cheerfully requests a room for two and even asks for a single bed, leaving Chrono frozen beside her. The receptionist steadies herself, accepts the request, and quietly studies the strange pair before her. Elysifina covers her mouth and whispers a daring promise that sends the tension higher. Chrono goes blank with alarm, realizing her innocent image has turned dangerously playful. Elysifina answers with a soft, knowing smile that makes her intent even harder to ignore. In the room, she closes in with eager anticipation as the mood tightens and Chrono braces under the pressure. Chrono finally blurts out that she looks adorable, trying to steady the moment with simple honesty. Outside the inn, the hanging sign marks the quiet setting as the conversation shifts. Chrono whips around in shock when Elysifina suddenly declares that she wants to become an adventurer with him. She smiles brightly and explains that archery has been part of her upbringing since childhood. Seated together in the room, Chrono warns that training and real combat are completely different. Elysifina pleads from the heart, insisting that she wants to help him instead of remaining a burden. Chrono wrestles with the problem in silence until a small companion calls out to him. Karen appears with a practical suggestion, asking whether equipment can be created specifically for Elysifina. She reveals that defeating the hero earned Chrono new power, including 2 newly unlocked abilities. Karen lays out the plan as Replica copies his summoned holy weapon and Repliconvert reshapes that copy into gear suited for Elysifina. Chrono rises from the bed, ready to test the idea at once. Elysifina lights up and leans into the phrase with reckless enthusiasm, while Chrono pointedly refuses to react. Chrono summons the Holy Beast sword, and the blade appears before him in a rush of power. A second shining weapon forms beside the first as Replica takes effect. Chrono presents both blades and calmly explains that the duplicate was created by his unique skill. Elysifina recoils in amazement, stunned that he possesses multiple rare abilities. Chrono pushes onward and activates Repliconvert, determined to complete the transformation. A violent flash erupts and swallows the room in blinding light. When the light fades, the copied sword has been remade into a bow with a matching arrow. Elysifina marvels at the transformed weapon, as Chrono tells her she should use it if she intends to fight beside him. Clutching the bow, Elysifina beams with gratitude, overwhelmed by the trust he has placed in her. Chrono activates both skills at once, setting the weapon copy and its conversion toward armor. He hesitates and imagines what kind of equipment would suit Elysifina best as Karen guides the process. With eyes closed, he concentrates hard and searches for the right image. A highly exposed set of armor bursts into existence, turning his idea into a serious mistake. Elysifina stares at the gear in surprise, while Chrono nearly breaks down at the disastrous result. He forces himself to stay calm as he realizes the material is genuine, and the armor is still highly valuable. Elysifina appears wearing the armor, smiling sweetly as the sight strikes him head-on. Chrono can only choke out stunned praise while she enjoys his helpless reaction. Her flushed face softens with joy as she takes in every word like a reward. In the charged silence, she leans close on the bed and pushes his embarrassment even further. Chrono admits the outfit makes it impossible to know where to look, exposing how badly his composure is slipping. He clenches his fist and curses under his breath, overwhelmed by the situation. Far away in a grand chamber, Ryuji grinds his teeth and fumes over Elysifina's disappearance. His bitterness deepens as he remembers being defeated by someone he considered beneath him. A calm voice cuts through his rage and tries to pull him back under control. 2 Imperial allies stand before him and remind him that the search for the princess is already underway. The larger man assures him that agents are sweeping every city before news can spread. Ryuji forces himself to settle down and redirect his frustration into resolve. Even so, his ally cannot accept that someone capable of crushing dragons also brought Ryuji down. The room grows heavy as they admit that even 3 summoned heroes together might still fail against Crone. They begin naming only monstrous legends that could rival such terrifying power. The little mage instantly latches onto the sacred beast's name with shining admiration. She gushes over the holy beast as a noble savior, completely enchanted by the legend. Her devotion deepens into dreamy obsession as she wishes to meet that being even once. Elsewhere, Chrono jolts at the warning while Elysifina follows close beside him. The pair step into a stone labyrinth corridor, swallowed by a cold and ominous passage. Elysifina studies the underground air and quietly notes how different this place feels from the surface. She turns to him for reassurance, trusting him completely in the unfamiliar danger. Chrono looks back and solemnly vows that he will protect her no matter what happens. The promise leaves Elysifina blushing hard as she clings to the wordmaster with trembling delight. A quick flash explains that after registering at the guild, their plans shifted before monster hunting could begin. Chrono stands wrapped in concern, while Elysifina happily accepts that today will be her first real combat test. Her cheerful mood shatters when she senses movement and cries out a warning. A slime-like monster lurches into view, and Chrono immediately judges it as manageable. He orders Elysifina to aim for the core and stop it before it can keep moving. She steadies herself and draws the transformed bow, focusing through the pressure. The shot detonates forward with crushing force, tearing through the target in an instant. The monster bursts apart mid-cry, erased before it can resist. Elysifina stands stunned by the weapon's overwhelming power while Chrono watches from behind. Her amazement spills into bright admiration as she praises Chrono for creating such incredible weapons so easily. Chrono brushes off the praise and downplays his power, but the slight pause shows he knows the moment is not over. Karen presses him, insisting his strength is more than a gift, and that risking his life to save the world is something he should be proud of. Elysifina eagerly says she can help now, while Karen's sudden kindness leaves Chrono awkwardly wondering if she is trying to encourage him. Before the mood can settle, a goblin-like creature creeps up behind Elysifina in eerie silence. She notices too late and freezes in shock as the monster closes in, sending her into panic. Chrono moves at once, calling forth the sacred beast sword as a lethal arc cuts across the corridor. The strike tears through the attacker and hurls it away in a violent burst of force. The body drops to the stone floor, and Chrono lets out a light breath after ending the threat in a single blow. Elysifina stares at him with shining eyes, completely overwhelmed by how easily he saved her. Even from a distance, her adoring excitement is so intense that Chrono can only accept it. She thanks him sweetly as another monster lunges nearby, and Chrono calmly notes how much she has improved already. As they move on, he quietly observes that she is learning to read enemy movement despite her sheltered life. When they reach the second floor, Chrono decides to stop for the day, but Elysifina immediately insists she can keep going. He warns that fatigue is easy to miss before someone gets hurt, and her confidence falters under his careful concern. His mention of saving energy for later sends her thoughts in the wrong direction, and his words leave too much room for misunderstanding. Flushed with delight, she throws herself at him and clings close, leaving him completely flustered. A startled shout cuts through the cave as both of them turn, caught in an awkward embrace at the worst moment. A massive high orc charges into view with a roar, forcing the entire group into a frantic sprint. Chrono recognizes the monster's rank at once, and the look on his face makes the danger feel far more real. In the chaos, the fleeing pair leave the young woman behind as she falls to the ground in terror. She looks up in horror while the others keep running, left alone before the charging brute. Chrono refuses to abandon her and throws himself back in, driving a fierce kick into the monster to stop its attack. He places himself between the woman and the beast, ordering her to stay back while checking if she can still move. The sacred beast sword flashes again, and another fierce slash cuts through the orc with overwhelming force. The giant enemy is thrown back and crashes to the ground, so completely defeated that the cave seems to tremble. The rescued woman can barely process that a high orc was brought down in an instant before her eyes. Elysifina rushes in and presses herself against Chrono again, praising him with reckless affection while he endures it in silence. The rescued girl stares at the close scene from behind, her expression darkening as if something fateful has just fallen into place. With trembling hands at her chest, she silently decides that the one before her is the person she's been waiting for. Elysifina hurriedly regains her composure, while Chrono cuts the moment short and urges everyone to leave the dungeon safely. The rescued adventurer thanks him sincerely for saving her, and the tension eases enough for the group to gather themselves. Chrono calmly says they were heading out anyway and suggests they all leave together, noticing she still seems shaken. He introduces himself and Elysifina at last, offering a steady smile now that the danger has passed. The young woman quickly straightens up, embarrassed by the delay and determined to make a proper impression. Surrounded by a dreamy air, she introduces herself as Cheryl, a D-rank adventurer trying to present herself with dignity. Chrono quietly reflects that someone at her rank should have had no chance against a high orc, and the mismatch bothers him. Cheryl's cheeks warm as she touches her lips, visibly shaken by the memory of being rescued. Chrono notices her deepening blush and grows uneasy, sensing that her emotions are shifting in a risky direction. Karen bluntly announces that Cheryl has fallen for him, and Chrono nearly collapses from the absurdity of it happening again. While Elysifina and Cheryl look on in confusion, Chrono desperately tries to silence Karen before the situation gets any worse.